So I'm Anna. I'm one of the owners of Atelier Modern. I actually own the store with my sister. I am actually probably a case study for Mary because I was an attorney and then completely switched gears, and now I am owning the store and gallery, which is really cool.
So cool.
And I call it my happy place.
It is a happy place.
And I was really fortunate. We're really fortunate here because we have all ladies working with us, which is amazing. And Jeremy and Jack, who are two high school workers, which I can't forget about
MHS,
Jeremy and Jack. They are the best. But otherwise, we're all females here. And Dami Birkin actually is an absolute pleasure, fantastic at connecting people, and she connected Mary and I this summer. And Mary said, I want to do something at your store, and I said, absolutely. So here we are. I'm so happy to have you, and I think, how did you want to start? Did you want to start by reading something from your book?
Sure,
Okay.
yeah, and I have to thank the connector over there, Fiona, for connecting me with Dami, who connected me with you. So I am just so grateful for all of the powerful connecting people in this town. We're all connected. So we're gonna sit down and do a little read.
Yeah, I think
since I do now have my glasses, I can do that. Thank you all for being here, and thank you and you. I mean, honestly, this, I was so excited about today, no pressure, just beautiful, amazing human beings in a beautiful space. So,
and actually, I would be terribly remiss if I didn't thank the Her Here ladies for coming. I should have said that at the outset, and I am so sorry. I'm so grateful to have you here. I'm so grateful to have this wonderful crowd. So thank you.
Yeah. So we're all really, really lucky. Okay, maybe raise your hand if you've even, read a little bit of the book yet. Oh, I love that. Okay. Oh, Dan, you did? Maybe a couple edits here and there, right? Little inserts. So I'm gonna jump into just a couple of my little favorite parts, because I think, we're all at different stages of our journey today, and, even tomorrow we'll be at different stages of our journey. So page 3, which maybe some of you have already read, what if where you are today, right this very minute, is the perfect place to start a new dream and create a new plan for your career? I say it is. And I'll keep reminding you in the pages of this book that you can do this no matter your starting point. Start today, and you can begin to act right now with no more time spent on the regrets or the mistakes of your past. Mistakes are just an opportunity for reflection and growth if we choose to see them in that way. As you read through the chapters of this book, you can begin again and again, creating a path for your career and your life. That's a little beginning. And then I'm going to go into this, which is on 24. Some of the most accomplished executives I know have taken a few side steps, a lot of twists and turns, and some strategic and some due to much outstanding circumstances to get to their current success. Taking the path less traveled is not only okay, but it's what makes you you. I love to hear stories where there are interesting twists and turns along the way. And in most people's reality, their career path is not like this. It goes like this. And so if you can own every step of that journey and every twist and turn, you're that much better off because it makes you who you are. Another little favorite part of mine is the Japanese word ikigai. Who has heard of the Japanese word ikigai? Not many of you. Okay, good. It's one of my favorite words. It's a term that blends the two words, iki, meaning to live, and gai, and I'm probably pronouncing it wrong, so my apologies, meaning reason, which translates to a reason to live. It's a concept that encourages people to discover what truly matters to them and to live a life filled with purpose and joy. This can translate straight into your career. Ikigai combines what you love, your passion, what you're good at, your vocation, what you can get paid for, your profession, and what you love, and the purpose. And there's a diagram in it, so I'll encourage you guys all to go to page 66 for that diagram. And those are just a couple little things that, kind of talk in the book about that intersection of, being really happy and finding meaning and finding joy in your life and your career. Because as we all know, as women, you're only, if you're happy in your career, that spills into the rest of your life, right? And so it's really important that we are happy doing what we love so that we can let that be an example for our kids. So we can be nice to our husbands, all that good stuff. Because when we're happier in our lives, it just spills into everything. So I have a couple more that I'll read later,
Okay.
But let's just jump into some questions.
So I guess my first question would be, what's your favorite success story? Because we were just talking about this, right?
Yeah. Oh my gosh, there's so many. And I'm going to do a little shout out. I'm not going to embarrass her today, but Brooke over there is in my book. And she's a really amazing success story that you guys can read about later. But I actually have a bottle of wine from one of my favorite success stories. And this bottle of wine is really, really special, and we're serving it today. But it's a story about a woman who worked with me at Tribune Company. She was on my team as a recruiter. And she and I both left Tribune Company, and we both ended up moving to New York. And when we moved to New York, she took a job at Google as a recruiter. We stayed in touch. We talked about a lot of the concepts in the book over coffee, over wine. She met a man at Google who was an engineer. And this engineer had a dream of opening a vineyard at some point. And she, because she and I were very kindred spirits, was like, well, why don't you try to do it? And serendipitous, as life tends to happen when you put it out there into the universe, they were at dinner at Joseph Phelps' restaurant and met him. And he said, tell me about yourselves. And he told Joseph Phelps about his dream of opening a vineyard. And Joseph basically took him under his wing and said, you can continue to work full-time at Google, but I'm going to help you get educated in becoming a winemaker. And here we are. They are winemakers in Napa now. So that's absolutely one of my favorite stories, from Google to making wines.
That's incredible. What a great story. So my next question would be the theme of the book. How do I tap into what lights me up?
Well, when you're smiling, it helps, right? I truly, it's funny because some people ask me, like, I don't know my passions. I don't know what lights me up. Well, then I ask them to start paying attention to what it is during their day that gives them true joy. And whether that is, making a good cup of coffee, going for a run with your dog, or whatever it is, start to document. We have an exercise in the book called the light log, where you just start documenting what it is that's making you happy throughout your day, and starting to do that over a longer period of time so that you can kind of connect the patterns. What am I doing at my job that actually makes me happy, right? And so another great story about that was a woman who went through this program. She worked in media in New York City, and her passion was horses. And she said, I'd really just love to quit media altogether and move to somewhere where I could actually be involved with horses. And she said, but that'll never happen. And I said, why not? Why wouldn't it happen? Like, have you explored that? And we explored all these different avenues for her, and she ended up going to work for in media and marketing for the Saratoga race course.
Really?
And ended up doing a really cool program that actually helps. They turned it into a nonprofit for the foals to make sure that the foals were actually being taken care of, and she did this huge media blitz around it.
That's incredible.
Yeah.
I have my questions in here if anybody was wondering why I was looking. Okay, my next question is, how should I be utilizing LinkedIn?
Oh, yeah, every day. Deep sigh. I mean, I recommend to my clients something that's called the Morning Power Hour.
Okay.
And it's curating your LinkedIn newsfeed so that you're following every company that is interesting to you, you're following every person that's interesting to you, and making sure that that is in your newsfeed. So when you wake up after you get the kids to school, you do your workout, you do whatever you do as your morning routine, over your first cup of coffee or tea, sitting with LinkedIn and just watching what's happening and commenting and connecting and making sure that you have a presence on there so that people are able to notice you.
That's so smart. And I am the worst at using LinkedIn, so I should probably talk to you more about that.
We've got a whole chapter on it. Yeah.
Okay, my next question is, how do I tell my authentic story in an interview?
Well, first I would say, start at the beginning, right? So what drives me crazy, and those of you who are in positions where you interview people, when somebody says, well, let me start now, and then I'll back up. What the brain is wired to follow stories, right? And so when you start at the beginning, so the way that I've reframed my questions to people is, tell me how you got your start and what brings you to where you are today, so that they tell me the story of their life, right? And I want anything that's relevant. For example, I'll use my stepdaughter as an example. She was a babysitter all through, growing up here in Larchmont. She's babysat a lot of the kids of people here in this room. And when she went to school, she went into early childhood education, ended up changing to social work. But every interview that she went through, I said, you have to add the babysitting in there because it's relevant to where, what you're doing, right? So I want to hear all of the personal little stories as you're telling me about your career path, because that stuff matters. It tells me who you are.
Yeah, I'm sure people want to know exactly who somebody is. They don't just want to hear, well, I went to like X college, or I studied this, or I studied that. The person, connecting with the person probably makes so much more of a difference, right?
Yes,
Yeah.
and that's why I always say, like, a resume tells me your skills and who you are. I mean, it tells me your skills and the trajectory of your career. Your stories in between are what sell me on who you are as a person.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, I think I have one more question. How do I go about creating a roadmap for future success?
Okay, well, that's all in the book. Can I just ask people to read that? No, I'm kidding.
No, but seriously.
No. You know what? I mean, it's baby steps, right? I mean, we all think that, every single person in this room has had massive success in their own right. And I'm looking around at a lot of people I know here. But, it's taking, a real good look in the mirror every day and saying, okay, am I where I want to be right now? And if the answer is maybe not, then you start to think, okay, well, what can I do? What do I want to do? But then what can I do on a daily basis to help get me there, right? And whether that is volunteering, or whether that is taking a class on AI, or anything else in between. I mean, look at you and your sister, right? You guys walked in here, you had a vision, and you just made it happen. And then you'll probably pivot and do something else, when your kids are older. So, just remember to be patient with yourself, because, those twists and turns, they're not always easy, but they're always, something that you can overcome, because you guys are all really resilient.
It's funny, when I was young, I always thought I wanted to be doing something artistic, but I didn't think it was possible. So if I could tell my 20-year-old self, be patient.
Yeah.
It's going to happen.
Yeah. It's hard to say to a 20-year-old.
It's hard, but it's hard. Yeah. So I guess you get there eventually.
Yeah.
So how do you want people to ask questions? Do you want to workshop something through the book? Do you want to read a little bit more?
Well, I'm going to ask you guys, would you guys rather ask questions right now, or would you rather do a little work? We're going to do a couple exercises. I think that means they want exercises. I think they want exercises. Okay, you guys have notebooks and pens near you, yes? Yep, okay. Great. So I guess we're going to go into some of the exercises.
Yeah.
Okay.
Actually, I'm going to grab a notebook and a pen. I'm going to do it too.
Yeah. Do it. Okay. Does anyone not have a notebook and a pen We're good? Everybody's good back there? Okay, great. So, I mean, these are for you, these notebooks are gifts from us to you guys to use as your own little journals. We didn't have enough time to brand them ahead of time, but we were kind of busy doing other things, right?
But we do have these.
We have the
lovely
bookmarks. Yes, so the bookmarks are in there for you always to remember your night here. Okay, once again, this is all for your own, mind and your own journey, right? So that you write whatever you want, let it flow. Don't stress about what the answers are. Make it like a stream of consciousness. And I'm just going to ask you guys some questions, and then you can journal into your book, and then we can have some more discussion around it, okay? All right. First one. What did you want to be when you were little? Was it a banker, Casey? Hi. You came just in time for the exercises. Yeah. No, this is all for you. This is your own little light log notebook that you get to take home with you and journal in whenever you want. I was like, oh, what shit? The what? You wanted to be the boss? That does not surprise me one bit, does it? Not one bit. And you are the boss. Yeah. Right? Oh my gosh. I love it. You are the boss. Totally. I mean, you're the boss. See, this is how we all end up being the boss.
I know, exactly.
Okay. All right. The next question is, does it align with what you're doing right now? All right. And if it doesn't align with what you're doing right now, are you happy with what you're doing right now? Yeah. Well, okay. Yeah, that's a great question. Because things totally change. Yes. And that's the thing, right? This is why as we said, our career trajectory has twists and turns. And things change based on your life stage, your preferences of what you want to do. I mean, I wanted to be like the CEO of a corporation, And then I realized after seeing and coaching CEOs, I was like, no, thank you. Seriously, And then I, inherited 2 stepkids and had a baby all in 1 year. And then my life changed exponentially. And then I realized that I didn't even want to work in corporate America anymore. So it does change. And you're allowed to let it change. So give yourself that grace.
And I think the answer to your question, do you like what you're doing? I don't think I think there's a gray area there. Because I would say, sometimes, yeah, I really like it.
Yes.
Sometimes I hate it.
Yes. So Jen, actually my next little thing for you guys is on a scale of 1 to 10, how much satisfaction are you getting? Because,
There are days you're like, oh my God, I feel so good, I accomplished so much, everything went well.
Yeah.
Days you're like,
yeah.
That's the question.
I have a question.
Yes. Yes.
Okay. Well, the question is what if you're between jobs? How do you answer that one?
Well, yes, that is, how happy are you being between jobs?
Oh, yes.
Your current reality. Let's talk about your current reality, right?
Not happy.
Okay. Happy that you get to run every morning? Yeah. Not happy. Light log. Okay.
Well, I was just gonna say, when I got laid off in April, in February, started my new job in April, and I was just thinking of LinkedIn, that was all I did.
Yeah.
And I read something that said, it's okay, do it for an hour and a half every day.
Yeah.
And then do your best, network as best as you can, and then walk away.
Yes.
And it was the best thing I ever did, because for that February to April till I got my next job, it was intense.
Yeah.
But you have to really network. But
That's
you have
your
to give yourself
LinkedIn.
Grace and space.
Totally.
And
Space.
walk away from it.
Space. And by the way, I actually wish you would have reached out, because what I would have told you to do is take a week off before, after you get laid off, because I always tell every executive that I work with, take a break, Because when you get laid off, you actually go through the stages of grief. And you have to allow yourself to go through every single one of those stages. And so while you're going through that, you're not really going to nail an interview. You're actually going to come off as being angry or desperate or something else. So you have to give yourself grace and space and allow yourself to feel those feelings, move through those feelings, and then get into it. All right. Any other questions before we move on? All right. Do you have a side hustle? And if so, what is it? And then the next question is, can you make money doing that side hustle? Can you build a business doing that side hustle? Okay, and then I have another thing I'm going to read. It's something that I have in the book that is from one of my mentors, Marshall Goldsmith. I'm in this group that's the Marshall Goldsmith 100 Coaches, and he's just a badass leadership guru. And he said actually to a whole group of us, he said, this is no matter where I am, at what life stage, if I have a job, if I don't have a job, I ask myself every single day, did I do my best to set clear goals for the day, maybe? Like, you don't have to like set 20-year goals, right? You know, the baby steps again. Make one step towards progress of achieving whatever this goal is. Be happy. Did I do my best to be happy today? Did I find moments of joy in my day? Find meaning. I mean, you can find meaning at, the pickup at Chatsworth School, right? Build positive relationships. I think everyone in this room is pretty good at doing that. And then be fully engaged in that day. So if you can ask yourself those questions every day, then you can answer, positively to those. I would consider that day a success, right? Even if you don't have a job, There's another little area that I will read, which is also something that you can do with your friends, with your husband, with your family. We do this in a lot of our leadership classes or our leadership work with high-level executives. But I find that you can do it literally with kids at the dinner table or anything else. And it's a really, really fun thing to do. We call it the ABCs. So I'm going to actually ask you guys to do it today and write this down. The A is achievements. What have you done this year that hit or at least got you closer to your goal? And of that achievement, what are you most proud of? What part of it? The next one is blessings. What are the things, people, or situations in your life or your workplace that you're grateful for? And when I say blessings, this is the big thing, right? This is when you're just being, right? It's not about the doing. Your achievement is doing, right? So yes, I achieved this, I checked that box, I got that goal, right? The blessing is, I got to see Becky, sitting at the football field today with her mom. That was a blessing, right? It was stuff like, the blessings are people related or being related, not doing. And then the C is commitments. What will you commit to that will get you to success for the rest of the year? This is something that you can always come back to for yourself, your family, or your team. And these simple exercises will help you be motivated and at any stage of your career journey. So the ABCs: achievements, blessings, and commitments. Does anyone want to share any of it? Any of their things that they've been writing down? Not right now, you guys are still writing. Keep going. But I do have a really fun success story that somebody, actually I volunteered her to tell. It's an exciting, it's a road to a success story, exactly. So do you mind sharing it?
No.
Thank you.
So I've been listening to the book. I'm doing it like a different path of your book. I'm doing it on Audible. It's available. Go to check it out. And so I'm listening to it on my runs every day. And so, talking about what lights you up, and it doesn't take more than 1 second for me to know that like performing theater has lit me up. It continues to light me up. I always sort of find myself near it, doing it. My job was in media, so it's sort of under it, in a way. So anyway, so I was like, what lights me up? Theater. Okay, so I get home and I Google theater jobs NYC, just because, I don't know, maybe it's something, whatever. So comes up Manhattan Theater Club. They produce Broadway shows, they produce off-Broadway shows, and there's this job, art talent, it's marketing, it's branding, it's communications, like all that I did for AMC Networks, but like under the Broadway sort of thing, which was like, oh my God, it's my dream job. And normally I freak out when I have to write a cover letter because you have to go in, you gotta research a company, you gotta do a personal thing. I mean, it's like a whole big to-do. So I jammed and I wrote this thing within 5 minutes. I'm like, theater's my passion, just puts everything together. And I sent it out, and then I was like, oh my God, you never actually get an interview if you just send something, so you have to know someone. So I'm looking on the board, and I see, besides Bernadette Peters is on the board, I just had I love her so much. We're like sisters. Anyway, so that was, I was like, I can't call her because I don't know her, but I would love to. But anyway, on it was a past CEO of my company. And so I have, somewhat of a relationship with him. So I texted him and I was like, what are the chances you can get me an interview at the Manhattan Theater Club? And like the next day, I had an interview at the Manhattan Theater Club.
Yes, I know, I like that. We gotta
clap. But the good news is that
clap.
I got the interview and it was great. The bad news is they were way down the road with a candidate. The money was not what it needed to be.
Yeah.
Not that I ever told her that, don't worry.
Yeah.
But it was like, it was fine. It was like, in the future, we hit it off. I'm going to go see one of their shows in March. I'm taking my mom. Bernadette Peters is starring in it. And I'm going to go to the little Legends box or whatever they call it in Broadway. That's like the Yankees, but what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
And so, anyway, so I'm going to meet her for a drink, and like, you never know where it's going to go. And now all of a sudden I can, I have this connection with her.
Yes.
She was amazing. And she did say, tell me your whole story. And so, of course, I had to like dive into all my auditions and my favorite Broadway shows. It was great. Anyway.
Right, but she saw your passion.
Yeah.
And the best thing is that you said you just wrote it, you didn't overthink it. Because I
Exactly,
think
it was
your
so-
roadblock too. You just put it in there.
Yep.
And like whatever happens,
Yeah.
happens.
But it
Yeah.
really was completely inspired by your book. Like,
Yeah.
totally, I'm going home and theater lights me up. I'm theater jobs on my seat. Anyway.
I mean, I couldn't have planted you here better. That was like so perfect. Literally. No, that's so great. And thank you for being brave enough to share because, yes.
So, as I said, I got laid off and I've never not worked.
Yeah.
And it was like one of those things where I got laid off. My husband's like, you're kidding, right? And I was like, no. Like, they kind of like gave me a pre-warning on that Friday.
Oh.
That like this weird, strange person put a calendar hold. So all weekend, of course I had my mom's 80th that weekend. And I'm like, that's really kind. That, you kind of tell me at 4 o'clock on Friday that you're going to lay me off. And I kind of tried to
This is,
get
like,
it from him.
non-humane.
Like
Awful.
I teased him, like, so what's this about, Anyway, he's like, all good, like really, whatever. So I got laid off that morning. on Monday, and my husband was upstairs. He's like, "You're kidding." I'm like, "No, like dead serious." I'm like, not the reaction I was looking for. But anyway, so you said like, what are your achievements this year? Well, I got a new job by April, and like I feel like all the women that I knew in my life like really came forward for me, like my old clients, people I just know, and it makes a huge difference. Like even just calling you back and be like, "Jenny, got your back," or
Yes.
you know, like whatever I can do. And you know, people get busy in their own lives, and they probably don't really, because I know this happens to me all the time. People are always reaching out, and you try to remember, you put it on your to-do list. But just even the thought that people care enough to like send you a note back in LinkedIn or, you know, text you back. So I'm just so anyway, that was an accomplishment for me, but I know I was lucky, and I know it was because of things that were happening in the marketing organizations that I work at. But it's just hard to remember, like, you can control the controllables. And in that case, there was like 100, and you can't like take it to your heart. You
Right.
just have to keep, like, but to your point, you can be upset. It wasn't the first, I think it was the third time in my life that it's happened. And you always find something better on the other end.
Always. Yeah.
And every single time it always happens, you just have to believe in yourself and like keep kind of moving forward.
Yeah. And lean into the other people that believe in you.
Yeah.
Right.
Go
And that's the
outside.
network.
Even if you're by yourself.
Yeah.
Like go for like self-care. Like,
Yeah. Yeah. Big time. Does anybody else want to share a story? Because that's, I mean, Jen's story too is like both like success stories in different ways, because now you're going to like literally stay in touch and stay connected to these people. I mean, and I'll just share the first time I ever spoke to the senior editor who is now at Wiley, who published my book, was 5 years before. And she was at McGraw-Hill. And McGraw-Hill only wanted authors that could guarantee that they would bulk sell their books to their clients.
Wow.
And I was like, I can't, because my clients, I'm like actually trying to help them stay at their jobs, and I'm doing leadership work. This is about finding a new job. I'm like, I cannot in good conscience like sell this to my clients. And so we agreed that McGraw-Hill Professionals was not the spot for me, but we agreed to stay in touch. And then a year ago, she called me and said, "What's happening with your book?" Because of the power of networking. And the power of keeping good, strong, healthy relationships in networking too, right? I mean, and Matt, you have a strong relationship with him, so that was like a no-brainer for you to get the interview.
Yeah.
So, lots of success stories.
Hopefully.
Yes, well, we're gonna get you. I mean, now you look at all these women in this room and men who are like going to be activated to help you. Does anybody have any other theater connections?
music.
Oh, see? There we go.
Wonderful singer. I don't know if anyone hears her.
No.
She's amazing, and she's like so talented.
Oh, well, I really want to hear the band. When are you singing again next?
November 17th at Heritage Boozy Brunch. So fun. You should all go.
Oh. Ooh, should we all meet back there on November 17th?
What's the name of the band?
Well, it's LC Band after myself.
Okay.
As it should be. I know, Colleen. Exactly. Yes.
Related to this, because when I think about the networking and I think about my children, and I'm sure many in the room have children, they're all very different. And one is more on the introverted side. And I always think networking in particular is a skill that comes easily to extroverts.
Yeah.
And so in your work, have you sort of
Yes.
broken through strategies for introverts and how they get over the hump of doing networking?
Absolutely. What a great question, Becky. I mean, like literally there's part of the book is about how uncomfortable networking can be for introverts, right? And there's a whole section in the book that says the number one question you should ask when you're networking is, how can I help? And that makes it easier because it makes it not about you, right? Because, and by the way, it's really uncomfortable asking somebody else to help you with something, or at least it is for me, right? But when you flip the narrative and you say, Karen, I'd love to get together for coffee and just see how I could help you, right? And you don't even have to do coffee, right, for that introvert. But, you know, when he gets old enough. Well, I know. That's what I'm saying. When he gets old enough, right.
As not an introvert.
Yeah.
It's a very different experience.
And it's easy. Exactly. And it's easy for introverts to hide behind the screen, which, you know, you have to put yourself out there a little bit. And it's challenging. But if you have one win, right, or one conversation that feels like this is not that bad, then it's easier to go on to the next one. Yeah, exactly. It's like building a muscle, right? I mean, like truly, right? If we didn't lift weights, we would all get osteoporosis and we wouldn't be as strong as we are, right? But like, you know, we're lifting weights and more you can lift more weights and it's much more comfortable. And then all of a sudden you're doing, 20-pound weights and you're like, oh, no problem, you know? So it's like flexing that muscle. And we have to teach them how to do that. Other question? Yeah, Brooke.
I was just going to add, you're talking about introverts.
Yeah.
I know a lot of you in the room, but not everyone, but I'm going to share that when I was a kid, I was painfully shy, like completely introverted, like afraid to call the dry cleaner to pick up your clothes, that kind of like, so my point is that you have to keep doing it.
Yes. Yes.
And people will meet me now and say, oh my God, my high school reunion, were you very quiet today? I'm not trying to puffery. I'm just trying to say that it's the muscle of forcing yourself to do it.
Yeah,
and
it is.
I gotta give my mother credit for that because she forced me to.
Pushed you.
Yeah.
Yep. So Becky, it's all your responsibility. Is what Brooke is telling you. No, thanks, Brooke. That's true. Yeah, put it on your to-do list.
Yeah.
Other questions or comments? Dan, you look like you want to say something.
I'm just happy to be here.
Oh. All right, that's good.
This is great.
Okay. So I'm going to give you another exercise because another thing in this book that is really, really meaningful to me, and for those of you who know me well, will not be surprised by this, but it is the power of gratitude and how gratitude changes everything. I talk about it with my business partner, Mel, all the time. We're like, you know what? I am so grateful that we're here with this client. I am so grateful that this client is so difficult because it's teaching us so much. But finding the silver lining and finding the gratitude. And so this is one of the exercises that I want to end you guys with because it is really, really, really powerful. And I'm going to challenge you to take this home with you as your homework. So another mentor of mine, a man who passed away actually this year, was this guy, Dr. Mark Golston. And he was a psychologist. He was also a very, very gifted coach. He was also a very gifted negotiator. He used to help the FBI negotiate hostage deals. He was also very gifted in saving people's lives, doing suicide prevention. I mean, this guy was like, he was Paula Abdul's therapist. He had very, very famous people, but Paula Abdul was like when I was growing up, so I was like, now aging myself. But he was a really, really impactful man, and he died early this year. But he wrote this book called Just Listen, and he and I did this exercise with CEOs across the world. And we had these CEOs in tears in the most beautiful way. I promise I'm not going to make you guys cry today, but you might cry when you actually do the exercise. Well, I know I will cry if I do the exercise because I cry all the time anyway, right, Tan? What it says is, my dear friend and colleague, Dr. Mark Golston, passed away while I was writing this book. He designed something called a power thank you. He taught me, and together we took quite a few executives through this exercise. It is truly quite powerful. Essentially, Mark says in his book, Just Listen, discover the secret to getting through to absolutely anyone, that when you do this, your words will generate strong feelings of gratitude, respect, and affinity in the other person by following these 3 simple steps. So I want you guys to write these down. This is your homework. I want you guys to report back to me and Anna what you're doing and how it went. Because when these CEOs reported back to us the impact that it made in their lives, and doesn't have to be in the workplace, it can be anyone that you want to give a power thank you to. Part 1, thank the person. See, I'm going to cry. I'm already doing it. Okay, thank the person for something specific that they did for you. I already have in my mind who I'm going to give the power thank you to. Part 2, acknowledge the effort that it took for that person to help you by saying something like, I know you went out of your way to. Part 3, tell the person the difference that their actions personally made to you. He was a really, really amazing man. But the prompts that he gave to our CEOs were, begin by thinking of the person who's helped you the most over the last month. Then think about the person who's helped you the most over the past year. Then think of the person who has helped you the most over your lifetime. He suggested start there and offer each of those 3 people a power thank you. If you can, in person, of course, by phone, text, email, or mail. Like old, like go to the post office mail kind of thing, right? Nobody talks about that anymore, but, and I just actually want to say a power thank you to all of you and to Anna and Elizabeth again, and Dami for pulling this all together, and Alice and Alex and Dan for being there for all of you, but really for all of you guys. Thank you so much. It was really great to see you all today.